Imagine waking in your tent, deep in the frozen wilderness, to an unknown terror so profound you cut your way out and flee barefoot into a -40 storm. That's just the beginning of the Dyatlov Pass mystery. What force, what terror, could drive seasoned mountaineers, 9 of them, to abandon the safety of their tent, in the dead of night, into the jaws of a storm so brutal it could steal your breath and your life in minutes? This isn't just a tale of hypothermia. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident, and the true story. It's far more chilling than any ghost story. Before the scream, before the terror, there was ambition, a hunger for the unknown. At the heart of this story stands Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student, magnetic and brilliant, leading a hand-picked team of 8 other experienced hikers, not amateurs. These were the elite of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, hardened by countless expeditions, their boots scarred by mountains, their spirits forged by blizzards. Their goal, Autorten, a peak in the northern Urals, a Category 3 climb, the most challenging in the region. If you stay until the end, you will discover the chilling truth behind their final desperate moments. They were a fellowship bound by more than friendship, a shared defiance against nature's raw power. Their planned route, meticulously drawn, carved a path through some of the most unforgiving terrain in the world. They carried not just equipment, but hope. The hope of triumph, of pushing limits, of etching their names into the annals of exploration. They knew the risks. They embraced them. This wasn't a reckless gamble. It was a calculated challenge, undertaken by those who understood the mountains intimately. They were ready. They were prepared, or so they believed. The journey began with excitement, a clear path toward glory. But the mountain, silent and ancient, held secrets far older than their youthful dreams. 1959, not just a year, but an epoch. The Soviet Union, a colossus, stood at the precipice of a new frontier. Sputnik had already pierced the heavens, a defiant metallic scream against the capitalist world. The space race was ablaze. Khrushchev pounded his shoe at the UN. This wasn't merely about personal achievement. It was about the Soviet dream . Every feat, every discovery, every flag planted on a remote peak resonated with national pride. A powerful current of ambition pulsed through society, from the frozen tundras to the bustling metropolises. These hikers, Dyatlov's group, were children of this era. Their expedition wasn't just a personal quest. It was a microcosm of that grand ambition. They were explorers, yes, but also symbols. Each mile trekked, each summit conquered, was a testament to the collective will. The stakes were impossibly high, not just for their lives, but for the very narrative the Soviet state was crafting for itself. To fail was unthinkable. To disappear, unspeakable. But the Urals, ancient and unforgiving, cared little for human ambition. They held their own, deeper, colder truths. The mountain waited, indifferent to dreams, ready to expose the fragile line between glory and oblivion. What force could shatter such resolve? Eles partiram. 9 almas. Destino incerto. Cada clickety-clack das rodas era prego no caixão do familiar. Convite silencioso para a vastidão implacável dos urais. O que os esperava no verdadeiro limite da civilização. Uma jornada de fé, ou uma descida ao abismo, onde a linha entre a aventura e o desespero se desfazia. O espírito humano, tão frágil, tão teimoso, confrontado com a indiferença primordial da natureza. Esta não era apenas uma viagem, era pacto, uma promessa de confronto com o desconhecido. Você se atreveria a seguir? Ivdel. Not a city, not even a town, really, more like a scar on the landscape. A penal colony, a logging outpost, a final gasp of civilization before the true wild began. Here the air itself tasted different, sharp, metallic, laced with pine and the chilling promise of the unknown. From Ivdel, a battered truck carried them to Vizhai. A village, yes, but barely. A cluster of wooden shacks, smoke curling lazily from chimneys, a few hardy souls moving like shadows against the snow. This was the true edge. Beyond Vizhai, the maps blurred. Beyond Vizhai, safety was a memory. But then, a crucial deviation. Yuri Yudin, the 10th member of the expedition, began to feel the gnawing ache of illness. A sudden flare-up of sciatica, a sharp, debilitating pain that made every step a torment. The decision was agonizing. To continue would be to jeopardize the entire mission, to become a burden. His comrades, despite their own ambition, understood he had to turn back. He stood there, a solitary figure, watching them go, 9 figures, shrinking with every painful step, disappearing into the vast white maw of the Urals. They waved. He waved back, a silent, heavy goodbye. He returned to Vizhai, defeated, believing his great adventure had ended in failure. He was the one who could it make it? The one too weak, the one who turned back. He would live, they would not. His perceived failure, his early departure, would become the cruelest twist of fate. A haunting paradox, the underdog who survived, while the strong, the determined, marched unknowingly towards their doom. He carried the guilt, the what-ifs, for the rest of his long life. He was the exception, the one who broke the chain of 10. He was the one who was spared and that knowledge, that burden of survival, would prove to be a heavier weight than any mountain could impose. What horrors did he narrowly escape? What unspeakable fate awaited those brave souls who continued into the silence? Messi Historia deles. A história deles não se dissolveu completamente no vazio gelado. Fragmentos. Sussurros do passado. Diários. Fotografias. Relíquias recuperadas. Cada uma janela íntima para seus últimos dias. Cada entrada, vislumbre cru sem verniz. Seu moral, suas rotinas diárias. O pavor sutil e crescente do tempo que se deteriorava. Eles não sabiam o que viria, mas sentiam o ar mudar, o peso do destino se acumular. Como podemos ignorar o que essas vozes do passado ainda tentam nos dizer? The early entries pulsed with life. Igor Dyatlov, meticulous, recorded distances covered, equipment checks, and the occasional triumphant mood. Lyudmila Dubinina, buoyant, described jokes, shared meals, the simple camaraderie. Sasha Kolavatov, observant, noted the stunning if brutal beauty of the landscape, their faces in the photographs, young, eager, full of an almost reckless optimism, told a story of ambition and friendship. They set up camp with practiced ease, snow crunching underfoot, smoke curling upwards from nascent fires. But then, a shift. The entries grew shorter, more terse, mentions of biting winds, relentless snowfall. The smiles in the later photos became strained, hidden beneath hoods and scarves, eyes squinting against the blizzard. The world around them, once a grand adventure, was tightening its grip. The vastness of the Urals, once inspiring, now seemed to press in, suffocating. A subtle, almost imperceptible tension began to weave its way through their carefully chosen words. What were they not asterisk writing? What fear was too profound to commit to paper? Eles se dirigiam para ponto específico no mapa, destino marcado não por triunfo, mas por presságio antigo e arrepiante. Kholat Syakhl, para o povo mansi, que vagava por essas terras desoladas há milênios, não era apenas pico, era a Montanha dos Mortos. Imagina o peso dessas palavras, sussurradas através de gerações. Uma montanha que não prometia glória, mas advertia sobre o fim. O que poderia impelir alguém a desafiar lugar com nome tão sinistro? Seria ignorância, ou uma arrogância fatal diante de forças que não compreendemos? The name itself was a whisper of warning, a psychological tripwire, laid by generations who understood the true, brutal nature of this wilderness. This was not a mountain one simply conquered. It was a place where the veil between worlds felt thin, where the wind carried more than just ice. It carried stories, stories of hunters who vanished, never to return, stories of strange lights and unsettling sounds. For the Mansi, Kholat Syakhl was avoided, respected, feared. It was a place of power, a place that took. The hikers, full of Soviet ambition and scientific zeal, likely dismissed these legends as mere superstition, primitive fears from a bygone era. They saw a challenge, a peak to be summited. What they did not understand was that they were venturing onto ground hallowed by dread, a geographical anomaly imbued with a profound, terrifying significance. They were about to become another chapter in the mountain's grim history. They were hiking directly into the heart of its ancient, silent curse. Mas uma escolha inexplicável foi feita. Uma decisão que selaria seu destino. Em vez de descer das encostas expostas de Kholat Syakhl, buscando abrigo na linha das árvores a meros 1,5 quilômetros de distância, Dyatlov deu a ordem. Eles acompanhariam. Ali mesmo, no lado aberto e implacável da montanha, diretamente no caminho de qualquer tempestade. Por quê? Que lógica, que desespero, que erro de cálculo poderia levar líder experiente a tal imprudência? Uma decisão que ecoaria através do tempo, enigma frio e brutal. Eles não estavam apenas desafiando a montanha, estavam convidando-a a lhes dar o golpe final. O que faria você tomar uma decisão tão fatal? Why? Was it a navigation error? A whiteout disorienting them from the crucial forest edge? Or something far more chilling, a deliberate act of bravado? Perhaps Dyatlov, ever the stoic leader, sought to train his team under extreme conditions, pushing them to their absolute limit, a test of endurance, of will, against the brutal Siberian cold, a practice camp for future, even more challenging expeditions. But on this mountain, in this weather. The tent was pitched, their last sanctuary, the final entry in a recovered diary, dated February 1st, simply read, "It is difficult to imagine such a comfort on the ridge at a height of 850 meters. A chilling understatement. What happened hours later, in the suffocating darkness of that tent, remains one of history's most terrifying enigmas. The world outside was a frozen hell. The world inside was about to become something far worse. A terror so primal, so overwhelming, that it would shatter their resolve, their training, their very sanity. What could possibly compel 9 experienced mountaineers to tear their way out of their tent and run, barefoot, into the deadliest blizzard imaginable? Lombra do que eu falei no começo. Aquele paradoxo de alpinistas experientes fugindo para a morte certa. Agora você entende a profundidade do mistério. Eles não fugiram do frio. Eles fugiram de algo. Algo que as autoridades soviéticas tentaram esconder, e que a montanha guardou em silêncio por décadas. A história do Dyatlov Pass não é apenas sobre a sobrevivência na natureza, e sobre os limites da sanidade humana quando confrontada com o inexplicável. Este é a verdade, como você vai descobrir. Desafia toda a